In an age characterized by unprecedented technological convenience, the act of eating has become paradoxically fragmented. We live in an era where, for the first time in human history, caloric abundance is readily available to the majority of the population in developed nations, yet the quality of our connection to that sustenance has withered. We eat while scrolling, while driving, while stressed, and while distracted, often barely registering the flavor, texture, or physiological impact of what we consume. This state of disconnection is not merely a modern inconvenience, it is a profound rupture in the fundamental feedback loop between our bodies and the environment. Evolution designed the human digestive system to be intimately linked with our cognitive processes. Hunger is a signal, eating is a reward, and satiety is a biological command to cease. However, when we overlay this biological machinery with the frantic pace of 2026, the signal gets lost in the noise. The ancestral context. Eating as ritual. For the vast majority of human history, the act of eating was never a passive occurrence. It was a rhythmic integration of the self into the environment. Our ancestors were not merely consumers of calories, they were participants in a cycle. When an ancestor tracked, gathered, or harvested, they were engaged in a sensory dialogue with the world. The proximity to the source, the soil, the season, the struggle of the hunt, necessitated a level of awareness that kept the individual anchored to the present. In this state, food carried a weight beyond its chemical composition. It was a connection to the vital energy of the land. The act of eating was synonymous with survival, gratitude, and community. This ancestral wisdom was not a taught skill, but an environmental necessity. If one were not present during the harvest or the meal, one risked missing the cues of nature, the signals of spoilage, or the collective safety of the tribe. This state of disconnection is not merely a modern inconvenience, it is a profound rupture in the fundamental feedback loop between our bodies and the environment. Evolution designed the human digestive system to be intimately linked with our cognitive processes. Hunger is a signal, eating is a reward, and satiety is a biological command to cease. Mindful eating is not a diet in the conventional sense. It does not dictate what you should eat, how many calories you should track, or which food groups must be excised. Instead, it is a practice of radical presence. It invites the eater to observe the entire process of nourishment, from the plate to the palate, and from the stomach to the psyche, with an attitude of non-judgmental curiosity. To begin this journey is to acknowledge that our current habits are not failures of willpower, but responses to a culture that devalues the time required for proper digestion. Reclaiming our relationship with food requires a slow, deliberate reconstruction of how we perceive the act itself, shifting from eating as a utilitarian task to be completed as quickly as possible, to eating as a primary act of self-care and a meditative reflection of our relationship with the world. The modern disconnect, the digital panopticon. Contrast this with the modern landscape, which I define as the digital panopticon. We now live in an era of caloric hyperabundance, yet we suffer from a profound, experiential famine. The modern eater is rarely at the table. They are often in a digital, professional, or social space that demands their attention elsewhere. When we eat while scrolling, driving, or working, we effectively delete the meal from our conscious memory. The brain, occupied by the flickering stimuli of a screen or the high-stakes anxiety of a deadline, fails to register the physical act of intake. This leads to a dangerous paradox. We consume more than ever, yet we finish our meals feeling unsatisfied, not because our stomachs are empty, but because our consciousness was never present at the table. We have severed the gut-brain axis, turning a foundational act of nourishment into an automated, unconscious habit. The philosophy of presence and energy. To reclaim our relationship with food, we must first redefine what it means to be nourished. In this video, we suggest that food is not merely fuel, a reductionist, mechanical view, but a transfer of energy. When we transition from mindless consumption to mindful nourishment, we change the internal vibration of the body. Mindfulness in this context is the act of bringing the mind back to the plate. It is the practice of radical presence. By choosing to engage our senses, the texture, the temperature, the aroma, We signal to the enteric nervous system that we are safe, anchored, and ready to assimilate. This is where philosophy meets biology. We are not just what we eat, we are what we are present for. The pilgrimage of the plate, cultivating radical gratitude. To eat mindfully is to participate in a grand, often invisible, pilgrimage. In our modern, frictionless world, food arrives at our tables as a polished commodity, a packaged product stripped of its history, its struggle, and its life. By reclaiming our awareness of the journey this sustenance took to reach us, we transform a mundane habit into a practice of profound humility and connection. The geography of connection. Every morsel we consume is a traveler. It begins in the soil, a complex, living architecture of microbial life, rain, and solar energy, and passes through a labyrinth of hands and systems before it graces our plate. To eat with appreciation is to engage in a mental map-making of this journey. When we hold an apple, a grain of rice, or a root vegetable, we are holding the culmination of the specific sunlight, soil nutrients, and water cycles that allowed the plant to grow. The countless hours of human, animal, and mechanical energy expended in cultivation, harvesting, and processing. The transportation networks, refrigeration chains, and storage facilities that bridge the gap between farm and kitchen. When we ignore this journey, we treat food as an abstraction. When we acknowledge it, we realize that we are the final destination of an immense global effort. This realization naturally shifts the act of eating from a self-centered exercise in consumption to a communal experience of gratitude. When we slow down to appreciate the steps, from the seed to the soil to the shelf, we cultivate an ethical boundary against waste. It becomes increasingly difficult to mindlessly discard food or overconsume. This is not about guilt, it is about reverence. By honoring the labor and the land, we imbue our meals with a higher quality of intent. Sensory rituals of acknowledgement. To move this appreciation from an abstract thought to a physical practice, we must integrate sensory rituals before we even take our first bite. Before starting a meal, take a moment of digital silence. Step away from the screen, put down the phone, and take one full breath to acknowledge that the plate before you is a gift of energy. Take 5 seconds to look at the colors, textures, and forms of the food. Recognize these as manifestations of nature's complexity. Silently acknowledge the invisible hands involved, the farmers, the packagers, the transporters. By internalizing their effort, the meal becomes an act of partnership rather than one of extraction. When we practice this level of appreciation, the table ceases to be merely a surface for consumption. It becomes a site of renewal. The digital panopticon, which seeks to pull our attention into a million fractured directions, loses its grip when we are anchored by the simple, ancient weight of gratitude. By acknowledging the pilgrimage of our food, we do more than improve our digestion or our psychology, we re-establish our membership in the natural order. We cease to be isolated consumers and become, once again, participants in the sustenance of life. Have you practiced mindful eating? At least once? What was your experience? Share your experience with us and other viewers. Drop a comment below. If you didn't try yet, are you going to try it? It is worth it. It brings back some lost connections in our life. It is very interesting experience. I hope you find this video interesting. So like it, share it and if you didn't subscribe to our channel yet, do it now. Thank you.